we will be making some fun DIY items for your pets. Today, if you can't tell by the picture behind me, is all about cats, so I'm really excited. We're going to be focusing particularly on cat enrichment. Now, enrichment is something that we've talked about so many times here on Humane at Home, but in case you forgot or you haven't seen our past episodes, I will remind you. For our pets, it's obviously so important that they get exercise, right? We take them out for walks, maybe not your cats, but they might want to run around your house, burn off some energy. It is just as important that they are able to exercise their mind. You need to give your pets stimulating tasks that are going to keep them thinking, keep them problem solving, and help them to stay active both mentally and physically. And that's what we call enrichment. So today we're going to be focusing on some really fun, cheap, and easy things that you can do to keep your cat entertained and stimulated. So let's start off with our first DIY, and everything that we're doing today is going to be made up of things that you would just find around your house. Items that you would probably just recycle or throw away normally, we're going to repurpose a little bit. So the first thing that you're going to need is just one of these boxes that soda cans come in. You can also use something like a cereal box or even a shoe box. I prefer a soda can box or a cereal box because the cardboard is thinner. I have a lot of trouble, as you'll see as we move on, cutting through thick cardboard. So a shoe box might be a little bit challenging. So a thin cardboard box, you'll need some toilet paper rolls or paper towel rolls that are cut to size. You'll need some scissors. An Exacto knife is totally optional. Please don't use one if you're not comfortable with it or if you've never used one before. And then you'll need a marker, a pen, something to write with. So your first step is going to be to make sure that your little rolls here are cut to the exact same size as your box. So I've just gone through and kind of measured these out before we hopped on camera, cut those down to size. Now once you have those at the appropriate size, you're going to go ahead and start cutting holes in the top of your box. You can do as many or as few as you like. Today we're doing 3. And the way that I do this is I just take my marker, my pen, my writing utensil, and I'm going to just plop the little roll right on top, draw a nice circle around it, and then we're going to cut that out as I've done here. I'm going to start by just making the initial hole with the Exacto knife just to kind of punch through the cardboard. But after that, I'm going to actually use my scissors. I just find that the Exacto knife doesn't give me, actually, maybe it will. I was going to say it doesn't give me as much control, but suddenly it looks like it's working pretty well, so I might just stick with this. So you'll just cut out that little hole, and once you cut that out, all of the hard work is done. Sorry, I just don't want to cut my finger. Be really careful when you're doing this.
We're all about safety first at Humane at Home.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to just actually use my scissors to cut this little piece off. And now, as you've probably figured out, you can go ahead and slide all of these TP rolls straight into these little holes. And if you're wondering what the heck this is, it is going to become a puzzle feeder. So one really fun way to provide enrichment, not only to cats, but to animals in general, is to incorporate a toy and food into the same activity. So for this one in particular, we are going to be encouraging our cats to kind of forage in these tubes, stick their little paws down there. I know my cat loves to kind of bat his food in the air. It can be really entertaining for them. So we're going to fill each one of these up with some yummy treats. You have different options depending upon what your cat likes, what their dietary restrictions are. If you're not so keen on giving your cat just a bunch of treats, maybe we're watching their weight, you can fill it with just their regular food. And you also do not need to fill it all the way up. That defeats the purpose because they'll just munch on the food straight off the top, and it's way too much food for them. So you can just sprinkle a couple different treats in here. And I'm actually going, oh my goodness, that smells like cat treats. Wow, even through a mask. These ones, I know my cats and our cats here at the shelter go crazy for, so I'm going to put a few in the center. And this is just a fun way to encourage them to bat around at this, stick their paws in it, even knock it over and get some of that sensory interaction. Another extremely similar, extremely easy puzzle toy that you can make just has one supply item, and that is a plastic water bottle. If you have plastic water bottles, instead of throwing them away or recycling them, you can repurpose them to be cat toys. Just like with our box over here, we're going to use either scissors or an Exacto knife to punch a couple holes in here. I've already gone ahead and done that. A couple of things you want to keep in mind: you don't want to put too many holes on the same side because then all of the food is just going to dump right out. You also want to make sure that you are rounding the edges of the holes as much as possible. So I'm seeing here a couple of these look a little bit sharp. So I'm going to go ahead and cut them so that they're a little bit softer. You don't want your cat scraping their paw or scraping their face on any sharp edges. So be really careful when you do that to make sure that they're nice and soft. But just like we did with our other puzzle feeder, we can go ahead and plop a few treats in here. I will make a little mixture. And we'll see if we can get it to work. Oh, it's already working. So when it lays on its side, your cat can roll it back and forth and some treats will fall out. And they'll start to make that mind-body connection of, hey, when I roll this toy this way, food comes out. So in doing that, they're exercising their brain and their body as they kind of chase this around your floor, and they're getting a nice little reward, some positive reinforcement for their problem-solving skills. The last item that we have over here is a similar theme in that it is a puzzle, but this one is actually not going to be a feeder. It is going to be a puzzle toy box. What you need for this is a plastic container. This is just one of those little plastic, I think almost like a shoe bin. And as far as the top goes, you have a couple different options. You can use the lid that comes with the box. I personally did not for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's very hard to cut through this material. So unless you're very strong and very experienced with cutting through plastic, I probably wouldn't. The other issue with this is that you're going to need to make sure once you do cut it, the edges are as soft as possible. So whether that means taking some sandpaper and rubbing it on the edges of the circle, or whatever else you might need to do to ensure that there's no sharp, jagged edges, you do need to keep that in mind. However, because I like to keep things a little bit more simple, I decided just to take some leftover cardboard boxes. This was just from an old Amazon box, and I cut it to size to fit the top of the container. Then I cut some little holes in it. I was feeling a little adventurous, so I cut a circle. This is supposed to be a square. Like I said, cardboard cutting is not my forte. And a triangle. And these little holes, these little slots, are where the cats are going to access the toys that we put in this box. So let's first talk about what toys we want to put in the box. You're going to want to put something that is engaging and that has the ability to move around in the box. You don't want something that's just going to sit there and bore your cat. So one item is a little DIY ball, and this is actually just the leftover excess toilet paper roll that I've started cutting up into strips, maybe about 1/2 inch wide each. So I've cut about half of those. I'll finish up cutting them now, and then I'll show you how we can make a ball. All right. So once you have those little loops, you can start to link them together. So these two will form the foundation of our ball, and we will just start adding more and more until the walls of the ball kind of start to thicken up. And sometimes it takes a little bit of practice and a couple of tries. While you are creating your ball, you can even take something like a jingle bell, anything that's going to make some noise and be some fun for your cat, and you can go ahead and slide it into that ball. So let me just finish shaping this up. We'll throw that little guy in there. And now we have a nice little ball that has a jingle bell in there. So when this rolls around, your cat will be able to hear it. So we'll put that one in there for right now. The other thing that you can include in there are these. These are the holy grail of cat toys, and they're so, so inexpensive. You can get them at any craft store, any store really, and those are pipe cleaners. I cannot tell you how much my own cat, how much our shelter cats love these toys. So you can do pretty much whatever you want with a pipe cleaner. You can make it into a fun shape, like a heart or a flower. These little coil shapes are really fun. Something that I've noticed cats really like is if you make almost like a little spider shape, as creepy as that sounds. I take 4 pipe cleaners, I bend them in the middle, and then I'll twist the top to make kind of the body of a spider, and then you can fan out the legs just like this. And this helps to make the pipe cleaners even more bouncy and exciting so that when your cat is chasing them, they get a little bit more lift. And it'll work perfectly for this little box too, because they slide around nicely in the box. The last toy that we're going to make to put in our box is a little catnip sock. So if you have any little tiny socks laying around, these are little baby socks, those will work perfectly. Bigger socks will work too, so don't worry, you'll just need to cut them down a little bit. But all we're going to do for this is we're just going to take a little bit of some catnip and we're going to fill up our sock with it. Make a nice little catnip sachet, if you will. I'm going to also include a jingle bell in here just for some added fun. And then, as I'm getting catnip all over this table, I'm going to take a little bit of string, yarn, totally your choice, to tie off the top of our little sock. You can also just tie the top of the sock itself into a little knot. If that's more your style, that's totally fine too. You can also add a little bit of cotton. If you have any like pillow stuffing or anything fluffy, some sort of batting, you can put that in the sock to increase the size and make it a little bit more bouncy. So I'm going to throw that in our box as well. And the last thing that you need to do is to seal your box up. So I've just got some masking tape here. You can use whatever method you want as long as you're ensuring that it's something that's going to be safe for your cat, right? You're not going to nail the box shut. Nothing that's going to poke them or harm them. So you'll just tape all of these sides shut, and I won't bore you having to watch me tape all of them. But once they are secure, this box can kind of move around and slide around, whether you have hardwood floors or carpet, and your cat's going to be able to reach into these little slots and pull out some toys. You can also decorate the top if you have anyone in your family that's really artistic and creative. Perhaps you could draw your cat's name, a little portrait of them, or even include some fun feathers on the sides of the box. So feel free to get creative as you want. So thank you guys so much for joining us today for FriDIY. Next week's Humane at Home is going to be so exciting, my friends. We are back up at our Project Wildlife campus in Ramona to meet a few more of our wildlife ambassadors. So make sure you don't miss out on that. Thank you guys. Bye. Have a good weekend.